up-and-coming problem, massive for us at the moment, is Sur-Rons.
Don't go into a retail outlet looking to buy a vacuum cleaner and say, can I buy a vacuum cleaner? You say, can I buy a Hoover? We've become the Hoover. My name's Lee Westbrook and I'm BDM, DDM for Sur-Ron UK and also for the distribution company ePowersports.
How do you feel about your company being associated with that?
It's a painful one, I'm not going to lie. There's a considerable amount of negativity comes from the press and so on and so forth regarding the brand. To sum it up, yeah, it hurts us. It hurts us a lot as a brand. Hurts us a lot with our ethos of where we're trying to go with the brand. And all the while, it's become a bit of a pandemic, if you like, of electric bikes in general. Unfortunately, through failure of our own success in some respects, we're the biggest seller of electric bikes in the UK. Sur-Ron brand is, I would go so far as not probably, is the most well-known brand for electric motorcycles. It's a bit of an odd one in that there's only one model of our range that is always seems to be the issue. But yeah, fundamentally, it is a massive issue. We're working extremely hard on it. I've discussed with you, I've discussed with anybody who wants to know what we are doing. We are working closely with the police forces, we are working with the ministry, we are working with multiple organisations to try and combat this. But you know, the simple matter of fact is we've become a brand, and I say it to everybody, we've become the Coca-Cola or we've become the Hoover. You don't go into a retail outlet looking to buy a vacuum cleaner and say, can I buy a vacuum cleaner? You say, can I buy a Hoover? You don't go into a pub and say, can I have a glass of Pepsi? You say, can I have a glass of Coke? It might be Virgin Cola, it might be Pepsi Cola. So Sur-Ron has got that brand recognition now where it's so strong that, you know, fundamentally everybody sees an e-bike as a Sur-Ron, when actually there's multiple brands. There's Talaria or RFN, and I can keep going on for an hour. And believe you me, there is a lot more coming. I was at EICMA last week, and it's quite alarming how big the industry is and how much it's growing. If you then take a look at statistics where we are as a brand in the UK in the motorcycle marketplace, you know, for two months on the trot, we've had the biggest registered sales in the UK, and that includes ice bikes in its category. Competition category is the same. You know, we're probably selling 3,000 to 4,000 bikes in the UK a year legally through our authorised dealers.
In terms of routes to market, how are you saying these? Is it an established set of dealers, or are they being sold on the internet? How does it work?
Yeah, again, it's very simple. We've since I've come into the business, I've been in the industry 37 years this year. I've got a very definitive route to market, how I want to see Sur-Ron represented and how I want to push the brand forward. And that is through authorised dealers, using existing networks. At this moment in time, we've got 24 dealers in the UK. I would say 10 of those are the most recognised dealers in the UK, normal motorcycle dealers, associated with the other big four brands, or big five brands it is now. So with that, we can offer transparency. We can offer the powers that be, the police forces and so on and so forth, some form of transparency as to where the bikes are going, who they're being delivered to, how they've been bought, cash, finance, so on and so forth. We have that. And so for us, that is the only way we can go, because all of a sudden the bad guys who are out there using them, it's going to become very recognisable very quickly to what areas of the problems are in, what cities are the major issues in. We can see what the demographic of people who are buying those bikes. So this is where I'm directing the business, and this has been really solid for the last 12 months. The issue comes into something else you're going to talk to me later about. It's the import market. When you've got a brand that's as powerful as it is at the moment and in such high volume need, that obviously encourages the importers to start bringing bikes in. And up to this weekend, they had a very huge success with it. Somewhere in the region of 1,500 to 2,000 bikes this year have been brought into the UK illegally on the grey market. Now, that grey market is very different than ours. They will sell to Tom, Dick and Harry working out of their garage, selling from home on the internet, whatever else. These bikes are not CE approved. 90% of them. I won't say all of them, but 90% of them. The ones coming from China definitely aren't. No COC, no homologation, so on and so forth. And those bikes are going into the market at probably the best part of £1,000 per unit, cheaper than we can supply our dealers. Therefore, those guys will accept cash. They will accept bags of whatever they want to sell. And that's where the majority of the issue with the criminality is based. It's a grey market, it's a black market like the drugs market and like all these other markets. So therefore, at the moment, what's happening is these bikes and these gangs and everything else are being fed by that marketplace. So as of this weekend, which anybody who's watching video will probably have already seen on social media, we've just absolutely demolished the pricing. Completely demolished pricing to a point where we are making no margin as a distributor. Our dealers are taking huge margin cuts simply to kill that market. So at this moment, with our new bikes, we know, we've done the figures, we know that no one can individually bring a bike in for less money than we can retail for. No one can individually bring in a container from China. No one can individually bring in units from Europe at the cost that our retailers can sell for. Now that is suicidal in some respects. You know, for our own business, we can't do it forever, but we can definitely do it in short term. But unless we get help from the government, unless we get help from HMRC, Customs and Excise, Trading Standards, we're in the same boat as all the Japanese manufacturers have been for the last 20, 30 years, especially in the off-road market. And someone's got to stand up and do something. So for all the negativity that we get as a brand, Sur-Ron get as a brand, we're starting to be recognised that we are actually pushing and we are doing something. And I'll take my hands up and I'll say, I'm making it my life goal to stop this. And that goes for the whole off-road market. It's not just for Sur-Ron. It's someone has to stand up now and go, okay, we've got to find a way. And if we all have to cut margins, if we all have to make no money for 6 months to a year to kill off that market, so be it. And that's where we are as of today.
Okay, so I mean, from my perspective, and obviously talking about this as a layman, trying to get an understanding, and hopefully for our audience to get an understanding of how it all works. The bikes that are coming in on the grey market, are they still manufactured by the same companies in
Correct.
China?
They
so
are. Yes.
It's the same product, but it hasn't gone
different
through
conformities to come to Europe.
Various processes.
Correct.
So they will make bikes that are
for their home market.
For the home market, which don't meet European standards.
Correct.
And therefore, those are the bikes that they're sending in through the grey market.
Correct.
So there's a
Correct.
difference in terms of the bikes that people are buying.
100%.
So if somebody buys one of these grey market bikes, it is not the same bike as you
so
are retailing.
We have to be careful what we say there, and the reason we have to be careful is because there's different forms of grey importing. There's obviously from outside of the European Communion, which aren't CE approved. They're not. They've got a few differences. But then you also have the bikes that are brought into Europe, which are homologated for road use and are also no different than the UK spec bike. And actually it's not illegal to sell those in the UK. But that is the fundamental issue right there. And that is the issue that every manufacturer in the industry has, is if it's coming in and it's not illegal to sell, how can we put any legislation in? And this is where we're trying to have conversations with government, MCIA, yourselves, to make people aware of this, that it's a fundamental issue that is across the whole trade. It's not just Sur-Ron, it's just that I'm putting my head above the parapet and saying I'm doing something now. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not going to wait for legislation. I'm going to do something for our brand, and we're going to feel the pinch financially, but we think it will work long term.
As you say, this looks like it's probably going to come down to something that needs to be dealt with at a legislative level.
Yes.
From I think most layperson's perspective, so like the riding community, they look on the individuals that are doing this and thinking, well, how can these people afford to buy one of these bikes? Obviously, looking at the kind of price model that you're selling them under, and the natural assumption is, well, they must be stealing them. but it may be that then they're actually just buying the cheap grey imports, so there isn't actually any theft involved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is theft involved. It's the motorcycle world, so I'm sure it is. That's not where it's being fed from now.
No.
I don't believe so. It's being fed from the import market for sure.
And in terms of, like I say, there probably needs to be a legislative response to it. Have you got anything in mind that you think can be done? What's the sticking point? Is it simply a case of getting government to listen and understand and deliver, or is there resistance to?
No, I don't think there's any resistance. I don't think it's resistance. I think it comes down to the same old problem in the UK at the moment, which is resources and funding.
Yeah.
And I think that is the truth. I don't think. We do work with customs excise. We are working with trading standards, and we're getting some leeway with it. But they can only do so much because it's a small portion of the other issues that they have. That doesn't help us, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think this story in many respects is a microcosm, I think, in terms of what motorcycling as a sort of like a sector suffers from.
Yeah.
It is seen as, like you say, a small part of the problem
It
and irrelevance, and therefore not something that we can focus on.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the wider impacts in terms of the criminality, obviously you've got the antisocial riding, you've got road danger involved, so whether that be harm to others or harm to the individual who's doing it. You've got the way that it is effectively restricting the market of a product that in theory ticks all the boxes for the future of motorcycling.
Of course it does. Yeah.
It's a green mode of transport. It's quiet. It doesn't have any emissions. All this kind of stuff. So ticks all the boxes and something that should, in theory, be supported.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, like motorcycling in general, is not seen as the solution for the future.
No.
That's why effectively they're sort of like saying, this is a trivial matter. Just go away and.
That's how it feels. Yeah. That is how it feels, and I'm sure you could be sat here with the guys at Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha, KTM Group, and they would be saying the same thing.
Is there anything that you think that the motorcycling community can do to advance this? Obviously, MAG, our core audience, I suppose, is probably road riding.
Yeah, of course.
But obviously, there's an awful lot of crossover between the off-roading side of things. Do you think that there's something that the motorcycling community can get together to help push government to sort of like recognise this, and how would we go about it?
That's a difficult one because I think it has to come from the industry.
Yeah.
And I think the industry is trying. Let's just say at the moment with Sur-Ron, with its positioning within the industry, we are a young company of 10 years old this year actually, but a young company that can be flexible still, because we haven't quite got to the scale and the sizes of some of the big manufacturers. Even though our sales say otherwise, that's the truth of the matter. We've hit on something that's just been a bombshell, and it's out accelerated the factory's expectations, our expectations, with a product that's obviously needed in the marketplace, because otherwise we wouldn't be selling as many as we are. And to be honest, it's launched a whole new range now. Because of that, I think. We've got that flexibility. So I think it's going to take someone like us to make the first step, to try and break that door down, and then hopefully that will open the floodgates for all the other manufacturers to come in behind us. I will say on here now, I'm here, I'm on the phone. All the manufacturers, most guys know who I am, and if you don't, come speak to me. If I can help any of the other manufacturers and explain what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what we're going to try and do, by all means come and talk to us. It's the criminality side is the biggest issue for us, and we do not see any other way of starting to legitimise our business, as in making it a higher profile, more respected brand, without killing the import market first. Because that is where we say it's coming from. For the reasons I explained earlier.
Yeah. Sur-Ron is becoming recognised for the bikes that have appeared in this news piece and the criminality. but as you said earlier, you've got a broad range of bikes.
Yes.
Do you want to just run us through, what
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the bike that the unwanted element, shall we call them, are using is the Light B. Various reasons they use that bike, namely it's 45, 50 kilos wet through, and it will do 50 miles an hour before you do any modifications to it. Can be ridden on a CVT, and it's basically, I think those guys see it as a very fast downhill mountain bike on the flat. So therefore, does it suit their application? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does, but so does the Talario, and so does a million other brands. But from that, we've grown a real big cult following in racing as well. And there is more and more venues popping up all over the UK. Indoors, which is great because of the silence. And it is bringing in a new generation of people into motorcycling. That's where my passion is, it's where my heart is. The whole reason I'm in electric is because I've spent all my life racing in the gas bike world. I'm a huge motocross fan. I've watched numbers falling year on year on year. I'm watching tracks disappearing left, right and centre due to noise abatement orders. And I can see our sport just disappearing. And it breaks my heart. I've got a father who raced, brothers who raced, and I'm just one of those. So for me, electric offers that new opportunity to bring kids into the market, and they will move on, as we all did, probably loving and sticking to one brand, but they will go through the ranks, and eventually, hopefully they'll be riding a Harley or a Moto Guzzi or whatever else it may be. I'm not saying Sur-Ron, but that bike, if you take away the criminality of a problem that we've got, that's the bike. That's it. That's the starting blocks. So the Light B to me is key to Sur-Ron's business. It's a huge volume seller. Everybody's copying it. You go to EICMA last week, there must have been 40 other replicas of it on the market with bigger batteries, bigger this, bigger that. Unfortunately, it's got Sur-Ron written on it, so therefore it will outsell the others, which is great for me. But so that's like is our entry level bike. But all of a sudden, there's a massive jump now. We've now got the Ultra B. The Ultra B's the most registered bike in its category in the UK. Got it on plug-in grant with the government, so ULEZ, so on and so forth. And now it's like $5,500. All of a sudden, it's a massive option for not only the sports side of the market and the enduro side, but the commuter belt. It's great, especially in ULEZ zone and stuff like that. There's no taxation. So that bike's now come into the marketplace, and it's what I call a proper motorcycle as opposed to the Light B as a crossover. That bike for us is key to where we're taking the brand. And the beauty is with that is because it's outside of a certain price range and because it's a proper motorcycle, it doesn't draw that bad guy element. So we're stepping into real world motorcycling to where we need to be. And then finally at the moment we've got the Storm B, which is just crazy. It's 550 newton meters of torque in a bike that weighs 120 kilo, £7,500 on the road. Again, on the PIG system, so you can get £500 discount. That bike is, as I'm getting older, it's the great green laner. It's the Sunday, I want to go out for a ride with my friends, go out, ride in the morning, stop, have a lunch, have a cup of tea, have a beer, whatever it is, plug it into the wall for an hour or two to charge up to give you enough to get home. So that's our range at the moment. And again, no bad guys are doing any robberies or causing any issue on that. So it seems to be that the marketplace for that bad element is the £3,000 below, £4,000 below, should I say. So yeah, and with Sur-Ron, that's what we're pushing on. And as you can see at the show, there's a lot of investment. The racing side of it, we're working and pushing really hard with that to try and get a new sport going that we're not calling motocross, it's electric bike racing, but it gives massive opportunities for motocross to grow again in my eyes as well, and that's sort of where my passion and drive's coming from with it.
Well, what's your personal opinion in terms of other technologies, obviously e-fuels in internal combustion engines, hydrogen, all these kind of different options?
Yeah.
What's your view? Do you think they have a place in the future of motorcycling?
100%. I let's face it, we're not going to have a choice long term. I talk about the off-road world mainly because that's my real passion. However, I've got very long history in the road market as well. So yeah, the truth of the matter is, battery tech's moving quick, faster than we can keep up with, and that's the truth. That is moving that quick. My belief and where I think we'll end up is probably biofuel type programs, possibly with hydrogen running alongside. From previous experiences that I've had, I think I would love to see hydrogen. I really would. I really would like to see that working. It's whether or not legislation will allow that to happen and rules and regulations. So biofuel, I think that's probably the last bastion for internal combustion.
Biofuel is one area, but then the synthetic fuel that is literally put the carbon captured from the atmosphere or whatever it is. Do you think that has got potential? Yeah, 100%. 100%. When I say biofuel, I actually class that in on that as well. Alternative fuels, should we say, as opposed to petroleum. Let's face it, the world's changing. I'm a dinosaur. I hate to say it, you're a dinosaur when it comes to the tech. The new generation of riders that we see with Sur-Ron and we see now with Stark and all the other manufacturers that are coming out, they're the Apple Watch guys. They're not the analog guys. They're not a big V8 lover like myself. They're not those guys. It's a new generation, and I've got a 3-year-old son who is racing an electric battery powered bike, a little revvy bike. He won't know any different. He will be used to using 2 brakes up here, no clutch. That's just the way it is, and it's going to break my heart, but it's what's happening. Long term, I think ice will always have its place. What I'm scared of and what I really don't want to see happen, but I think will happen long term in the off-road, is it will be predominantly electric. And there will be classic bike racing with ice, and that will be very limited. I think there's a place for both to run side by side. I think there's a place to actually keep them separate as well. And this is what nobody's talking about, which infuriates the hell out of me, is at the moment electric bike manufacturers like Sur-Ron, like Talaria, like all the other guys, we're all putting them back to back and saying, this competes with this, a 250, this competes with a 125. No. Just stop. Why does it have to compete? It doesn't. Why do motocross riders have to race electric bikes? What about mountain bike riders? What about BMX guys? What about extreme sports guys? They don't have to come from a motorcycle background to ride an electric bike. And at the same time, we keep those two separate, we'll always have motocross, enduro, green laning on the gas bikes running side by side. They can run parallel. They don't have to compete. They don't have to be butting heads all the time with the gas 2-stroke rider saying, 4-strokes are crap, electric's crap, this, that and the other. We don't need that. We don't need it. What we should be doing is looking at it together and going, look guys, we're losing our sport. Off-road sport is dying. I'm a very simple man. You look at figures, they don't lie. You look at the figures year on year, they're just tailing off. You look at the venues, 60% gone in 7 years due to noise abatement orders in the UK market. That then leads on to, why is there criminality on the streets? These kids have got nowhere to go ride these bloody electric bikes. Because legislation and noise abatement orders, because you're putting houses in left, right and centre where there's been motocross tracks for 60 years, but it doesn't matter, they go. So, the whole electric petrol thing, to me, is becoming an annoyance. And I don't think it needs to be an annoyance. I think we've got these two different things which we can grow together. And do you know what? The likes of Stark, Honda have got that beautiful Honda CRE in there today. If we can get them into gas bike racing, brilliant, because we get research and development from that. But in the meantime, we've got a British Electric Championship running where they can come and ride. That's the trick. That's the trick right there. When it comes to the whole gas, whole electric thing, probably shouldn't say it on camera, but I will be. You cut me open inside here, it says Yamaha YZ250, and it will never go. It will never go. I'm a
a two-stroke fan, that's it, it's never going to leave me. But the truth is, in 2011, when I first rode the first electric bike, to me, it switched the light bulb on. And it gives a lot of opportunities to save our sport and our industry. And I think as things get tighter with the road market, which they will do, I know it's all being put back, and we know the farcical side of that. We have to have something ready to take its place, and if we don't, we're in a world of trouble as an industry. And motorcycling in general. We've always been seen as the bad guys. We don't need to, but we need to protect it. And I think if we can just get the real petrol heads, and I'm one of them, to start realising that it's not a competition, guys. It's, we need to work together to get somewhere. And if we can do that, we can protect the ice as well. If we can just do that, we can move forward as a community, bike lovers. So yeah, I think I whittle on, and I could whittle on for hours about it because I'm passionate about it. But yeah, that's how I see us where we are in the market, and I think that's where I see gas and electric running. I just hope and pray that the powers that be don't throw a spanner in the works along the way.